And Papa tells a different story, so don't freak out at what I'm about to say. The original name was spelled with an L. Rougarou. Lu meaning wolf, and Garou meaning person who shapeshifts. Now, over time, with the rolling of the tongue, the L sound turned into an R, so Rougarou to Rougarou. Now, there are a few ways that Rougarous can come into existence. Now, the legend says that if you survive an attack by a Rougarou, but you're bitten, you cannot tell anyone for a year and a day, or else you'll turn into a Rougarou. If you could keep the secret, then you'll be good. A witch or a voodoo priestess can also turn someone into a Rougarou. And there is a legend that says if you're a Catholic who breaks the Lenten penance for 7 years in a row, you'll turn into a Rougarou. Now, your mama probably told you that if you were bad or you misbehaved, a Rougarou was going to get you, or it was going to pinch your toes while you're sleeping. It was mostly used as a means of obedience through fear. Are you or someone you know a Rougarou?
Okay, chat. Welcome to part 2 of my Roy Stubble werewolf story time. So where do we leave off, chat? Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so Roy grabbed all the rocks, right? He ran down to try to go help, you know, Herman, because he heard him scream. So he had the rocks in his hand, balled up, and what he saw, y'all, was insane. Roy saw a big beast on all fours standing in front of him over Herman. When Roy ran back, now the werewolf's attention was on him and was looking at him. Roy stood there, he could not move, he was frozen still. The other guys ran behind him and Roy could hear, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." And Roy thinking in his mind, yeah, you better not shoot, like I'm right here, you might hit me by accident. Then he said when the wolf heard that, it looked directly at the guy with the pistol. Roy said the look gave, hey, go ahead and try, see what'll happen to you. So the wolf was just standing there looking at them. Then it stood up on 2 feet. Yes, y'all, 2 legs. The wolf stand up on 2 legs. And then Roy said he can clearly see that it was a woman's shape and body. He said the wolf had breasts, like a womanly shape, even like nipples, but it wasn't like a dog, you know, a dog that's feeding its puppies. It wasn't like that. It was like a young, mature body. Here was the weird part, y'all. Here the weird part was, chat. Roy said the woman wolf, the female wolf, had the same exact earrings, you know, those hoop gold earrings, same earrings on the woman that he seen come to his store that he was supposed to be on a date with. Roy thought that was very weird and alarming to him. And then they almost had the same goldish eye color. Roy said the wolf looked at him as if she knew him, like, don't run, Roy, because you know what'll happen to you, but almost like she wasn't gonna hurt him. Uncle Roy said he stood there, y'all, and he just started to pee on himself. Yes, chat, urination, real urination. I thought that was crazy because I'm like, wow, to be able to be frozen solid, to be like urinating yourself and can't move. I haven't been afraid like that, but I've heard instances like this. So chat, after he stood there and all his friends are screaming behind him, he just thought to himself, let me try to run away again. And guess what, chat? Uncle Roy peed on himself again. He peed on himself twice. Crazy. The strange part was he said the wolf kept looking into the woods and looked into the trees. So she was looking around. She wasn't paying attention to them at some point. Then he said he looked over to see what she was looking at, and he could see 6 eyes. 2, 4, 6, guys. Yes, looking at all of them. Roy said Herman was on the ground still. He wasn't making any noise, but she wasn't standing over him at this point, but he was just standing there looking at the ceiling the whole time. So chat, so at some point she hears a noise. I don't know if one of her siblings, her mom calls her, something happens and she had to go. So she takes off running. and all those other dudes start running as well. Of course, they grab Herman. Herman barely really responsive. They're holding him up and running with him. But chat, here is the weird part. They said Herman had a gray patch in his hair. So Roy thought it was dust, so he tried to rub it out, and it was his actual hair turned gray. Mind you, he just had black hair 30 minutes before that. Uncle Roy said this was the first time he's seen and hearing that somebody's could be so afraid that their hair turns gray. I have never experienced or heard of it until then, but I did look it up. It does happen. So chat, they walk him all the way down to the liquor store where they were supposed to be going to, and they try to call the police. The guy at the liquor store wouldn't let him use the phone, wouldn't let them come in. So chat, they walk him all the way down to the liquor store where they were supposed to be going to, and they try to call the police. The guy at the liquor store wouldn't let him use the phone, wouldn't let them come in. They didn't know what to do. So chat, they drove Herman all the way down to his mother's house and to tell her the story of, like, you know, this wolf and what happened to everybody happened to them. Herman's mom instantly started yelling at them, cussing at them, saying, "What did you guys do to my son? What did you guys do to my son?" She wasn't trying to hear no wolf business, y'all. So Roy said him and the other dudes kind of just take off running, and he doesn't really know them, so he runs all the way back to his car. Roy jumps in his car and goes all the way back to New Orleans, and he was shaken up for months. Roy went to the job and carried a weapon with him at the job. Roy literally told the boss, like, "Hey, you're gonna have to fire me because I'm not about to be like at work without anything on me." And she was very confused. She was like, "What is going on? Like, what happened?" So Roy told her this story after he was very reluctant because he thought he was gonna get a fire because it sounds ridiculous to him, you know. And she just instantly just said, "Oh, you saw a Rougarou." And he was like, "A Rugaroo what?" "A Rougarou." So in New Orleans, the whole Louisiana, everybody knows about Rougaroos. So he was new though. He was from Indiana, I believe Indiana. I might be wrong. I'm gonna have to fact check that. But yes, he wasn't from the area at all. So he have never seen anything like that in his life. Roy said he got big into drinking, like he was very like stressed, and it was a lot was going on with him, and he didn't know where these other dudes lived and stayed at all. So years down the line, Roy tells his story, maybe 30 years later. Some way, somehow, he gets patched in with Herman's son. And he's been looking for these dudes for years, and he finally finds a connection. So he finally talks to Herman's son on the phone, like, "Hey, how's your dad doing? Like, did he get better? I want to talk to him. Like, what happened? Because I'm the only one, like, was here to tell this story." Uncle Roy said the boy done cussed him out, y'all. Told him all type of obscenities and this and that. "If I see you, I'm gonna unalive you." All of that. Yeah, chat, all of that. And Uncle Roy's like, wait, what? What's going on? And he's like, "Yes, what you guys did to my dad. You made me lose my dad. And I'm gonna take you away from your kids, how you took my dad away from me." And Uncle Roy was like, "What are you talking about? What is going on?" So apparently, chat, Herman has never been right after that. The gray patch stayed in his hair. Herman was mostly like more nonverbal. He had a few outbursts, and when it was outbursts, he would talk about the wolf, like he would be scared, like "don't come get me" type of shit. So it was really crazy. Yeah, the boy completely disrespected him, and mind you, Roy was talking to Herman about this little boy because he was about to be born. Now this boy is about 25, 30 years old. And he's a grown man, and I guess he believed the stories his grandma and everybody else told him, that he really believed they did something to his dad, and they really did it. So just a really sad story. The family don't believe it. They don't know what happened to Herman. They never seen somebody can turn from day to night like that. He was actually passed away at some point, and Roy was really sad that this wolf actually unalived Herman slowly. He was, I don't know what kind of magic or whatever else is going on, but whatever he looked into Herman's eyes, or she, I believe, whatever it did was crazy. And I've been afraid of things before in life, y'all. Big afraid, but I have never been to that level of afraid. And that is just scary to hear. So Uncle Roy tells his story. There's a bunch of stories on YouTube. Do not go watch the travel channel. He told me personally that he does not like that channel, and he doesn't like what they did with this story. They lied and said they were shooting at the wolf, which they was not. So let's clarify that right now, because that's one of the parts of his story that bothers him. And I did get to speak to him. So this story, y'all, for me, I have never ran into any werewolves. I have ran into people that come from werewolf lines and families that can't change into werewolves. At least I don't think they can. But it's a very sticky situation, tribe, power, and it worked differently than a regular werewolf. So that's the Roy Stubble werewolf story time, chat. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all want more stories like this? More vampires, werewolf, mermaids, like real creatures and entities that are around this world that they're hiding from us? Let me know, okay? And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. All right, this is Forbidden Lore with Cube, and I'm going to talk to y'all later. All right, bye.